I now invite Yogeendra ji Ranganathan, and his session is on the art of storytelling in the Dasapadas of Karnataka. Welcome, Yogeendra ji, who is a student of Indic Studies.
आपादमौलिपर्यन्तं गुरूणाम् आकृतिं स्मरेद्येन विघ्नाः प्रणश्यन्ति सिद्ध्यन्ति च मनोरथाः हरि ओम् हरे Srinivas. My topic is the art of storytelling in Dasapadas of Karnataka. My name is Yogeendra. A lot of other participants have described about Haridasaru and Purandaradasa, so I'll directly skip to the classification. I just want to add a point here in the Adhikara part. Sri Mahipati Dasaru had composed songs in more than 6 different languages, including Farsi, for the sake of Muslims and Mughal rulers of that time. So that is one point I wanted to add. From the point of view of storytelling, I've classified the Dasapadas into 2 main categories. One is Dasapadas based on Vedic literature, which is further divided into 2, where the Padas narrate a story from Puranas, Itihasas, and Shastras. And the second one is Padas that don't tell a story, but bring out the Sara, bring out emotions like Bhakti, Vairagya, describe rituals, and so on. And in the second category, Dasapadas based on real life events. These are basically the Padas written by the Sishyas and other Dasas about their gurus and other contemporary Dasas, describing their Mahimas, their works, biography, and events relating to them. In this, the second category is about the Dasapada, which is composed in reaction to a certain event, and that event is recorded as a story and has been passed down from generation to generation. And there are quite a few padas in that category as well. So first, the Dasapadas based on Vedic literature. I've chosen Rukmini Parvati Samvada. Dr. Nagaraju Paturi sir has described the literature into 3, classified them into 3 parts, 3 categories. Prakhyata, Utpadya, and Mishra, if I recall correctly. This pada could be classified into Mishra category because this is based on Bhagavata, which is a Prakhyata literature, and the Samvada itself, Rukmini Parvati Samvada, which never really happened, is the imagination of Purandaradasaru. This pada is basically in the form of questions. So Parvati asks a question about each avatara in a funny way, and Rukmini gets back to it in a equally witty reply, with an equally witty reply. The listener has to know a bit about Bhagavata to understand this Dasapada. First, listen to the Dasapada, and then I'll talk a little bit about it.
Jaladi nilaya garaya tara chaluva Rukmini biliya maiya budi shivage olide Parvati Vasudhi gisha nagi baliya bedalillave yasavaka pala pidida kartanallave Vasudhi gisha nagi baliya bedalillave yasavaka pala pidida kartanallave kartanallave.
So as you can see, first Parvati asked about, here I chose the Vamana Avatara, where Parvati asks if he is the Lord, how did he end up begging Bali? And Rukmini replies, what about Shiva when he tried to cut off the head of Brahma? Actually, Shiva gets the Brahmahatya and the Kapala comes and sticks to the hand. It's a very big story. Anyway, eventually to get rid of that Brahmahatya dosha, Shiva had to take a bhiksha, and that is why he's called as Adi Bhikshu. The important element that I want to highlight here is that this is not simply to make fun of each other or anything like that, but rather the Dasaru wants us to think the events that led and the dharma sukshmas behind it. Our Acharya used to say that if you have curd and if you just leave it there, at most it will be bitter and it gets spoiled. But if you make it buttermilk, churn it, and then you get the butter out of it. So having just knowledge is not enough. You need to churn the knowledge and get the dharma sukshmas out of it. And at least here, the Dasaru had an entire line to provoke such thoughts and describe certain elements of Dharma Sukshma. You'd be surprised to know that Dasaru does that even with just one word, makes us think. For example, in the description of Dasavatara, Dasaru says, Kannu muchade bennu toruvi mannu kedarivi chinnagolidane sannavamana annaramane. Here, kannu muchade means without closing eyes. That's all he says. He doesn't say anything else. Kannu muchade means here he implicates that fishes don't close eyes. So here the fish means the Matsyavatara, not the ordinary fish. So you have to think a little bit to understand, he's talking about the Matsyavatara of Srihari. And I think the advantage Dasaru has here is they have the vocabulary, the extent of vocabulary they have. They can use Kannada terms, they can use Sanskrit terms, they can Sanskritize the Kannada terms, and they can replace the Sanskrit terms with their own Kannada terms. For example, describing an event from Mahabharata, Hastinapura, in place of Hastinapura, Dasa says Kariyapura. Hasti means elephant in Sanskrit and Kari means elephant in Kannada. So instead of saying Hastinapura, he says Kariyapura. ಕರಿಯಾಪುರದ ನಗರದಲ್ಲಿ ಕೌರವರು ಪಾಂಡವರು ಧರೆಯ ನೊಡ್ಡಿ ಜೂಜನಿಟ್ಟು ಲೆತ್ತವಾಡಲು ಪರಮ ಪಾಪಿ ಶಕುನೀತಾನು ಪಾಶದೋಳು ಪೊಕ್ಕಿರಲು ಧರ್ಮರಾಯ ಧಾರುಣಿ ದ್ರೌಪದಿಯ ಸೋತರೆಂದು ದುರ್ಯೋಧನ ಸಂತೋಷದಿಂದಲ್ಲಿ ತನ್ನ ದೂತ ರಟ್ಟಿ ಪಾಂಡವರ ಬದುಕು ತರಿಸಿದ. So as you can see, the lyrics are very easy to sing and remember and understand. And the way they play with the words is really beautiful. I have to move on to the next now. This is the second classification of my songs. These songs don't narrate a story, but I've chosen this song because it has everything in it: Vairagya, Bhakti, Niti, and everything. Just listen to the song and I'll talk about it a bit.
ಆರೇನ ಮಾಡುವರು ಆರಿಂದಲೇನಹುದು ಪೂರ್ವಜನ್ಮದ ಕರ್ಮ ವಿಧಿ ಬೆನ್ನ ಬಿಡದೋ 5 ವರ್ಷದ ಹಸುಳ ವನವೇತ್ತ ತಪವೇತ್ತ ಬೈದು ಮಲತಾಯಿ ಅಡವಿಗೆ ನೂಕಲು ಸುಳಿದು ಕೋಪಾಗ್ನಿಯಲಿ ಪುರ ಹೊರಟು ಹೋವಾಗ 5 ಪಿತೃಗಳಿದ್ದು ಏನು ಮಾಡಿದರೋ.
As you can see, Dasa is invoking Vairagya through this Dasapada. But I chose this song because it is very evident that it is based on Vedic literature. The Bhagavata, the Aidu Varshada Bala, the 5-year-old child here is Dhruva, who had to go to Vana and do tapasya at the young age. What I really want to focus is about the Niti here, the Aidu Pitrugalu, the 5 fathers, as you know, the one who gives Janma, Vidya, Vaidya, Raja, and Annadata. This speaks a lot about our society also, the kind of relationship people had with each other, the relationship between Guru and Sishya, the relationship between the father, the Raja and the Praja, Annadata and Bhikshuka. So unlike how the Western perspective or colonial perspective is that our culture was always dogmatic and regressive, it is actually quite beautiful. And these padas can actually, even though they don't narrate a story, for storytellers, these padas can be very useful because especially when you're doing an Utpadya literature, that means you're creating your own story. You can directly use these Dasapadas to make your story dharmic, to get the element of dharma in your story. Since they adhere to Shastras, you don't have to worry about it. Once I had to write a story in which I used the Niti for Vidyadana, and some of the people were like saying, why can't we use the English equivalent? Annadana Mahadanam Vidyadanam Mataparam Annetu Kshanika Truptihi Avad Jivantu Vidyaya. So my friend wanted to say, no, people won't understand this. Why don't we just use teach a man to fish, the equivalent version? I have a problem with this because Vidyadana can never be equal to teaching, even though one can argue that teaching should be universally free and for all. Then what about the Patratva? it is not just the meaning of the word, but also there is a framework around in which it has a different meaning, and a lot of implied dharmas are there along with it, which is very necessary to understand our culture. And moving on, I want to now go to the second category, Dasapadas based on real life events. This is composed by Sri Vyasarajaru, the one who initiated Sri Purandara Dasaru Dasasreshta and Sangeeta Pitamaha. He wrote this Dasapada praising the Mahimas of his Vidya Guru Sri Padarajaru. You first listen to the song and I'll tell what the context is about.
विप्रगे ब्रह्मत्य दोष बरलु क्षिप्र शंखोदक दिकळये विप्रगे ब्रह्मत्य दोष बरलु क्षिप्र शंखोदक दिकळये अप्रबुद्धರು ದೋಷಿಸಗೆರಣ ಕಪ್ಪು ವಸನ ಹಸನ ಮಾಡಿದ ಮಹಿಮೆ ಸಾಲದೆ ಮಹಿಮೆ ಸಾಲದೆ ಮಹಿಮೆ ಸಾಲದೆ ಇಷ್ಟೇ ಮಹಿಮೆ ಸಾಲದೆ ಇಷ್ಟೇ ಮಹಿಮೆ ಸಾಲದೆ ಮಹಿ
Here, Sri Padarajaru once had to remove the Brahmahatya of Samantaraja, Salva Narasimha Bhupala, who went on to become the Chakravarti of Vijayanagara later. In an instant, he had to kill the Archakas of Tirupati. The entire story is kind of very big, and I think I don't have so much time. So if you're interested, please go through my paper, and I've covered it in detail. Basically, he felt that the Archakas were in getting involved in the political affairs of the kingdom, compromising the integrity and the security of the kingdom, and also that they were neglecting their duties. So he had to kill all of them. And he went to Sri Padarajaru and begged to save him from the Brahmahatya, for which Sri Padaraja agreed. And he, using the Shankodaka, he used to sprinkle it every day on the Raja for over a period of time, and he removed the Brahmahatya. And when King came to Sri Padaraja and told finally that he was freed from the Brahmahatya, people started laughing and said Brahmahatya is not a joke. You cannot just remove it by sprinkling some Shankodaka. So in order to prove the siddhi of Sri Padarajaru, he asks the students to bring a white cloth, dip it in gerenne, which is black seed oil used as a natural dye, make it black, and then using the Shankodaka, he makes it white again. Kappu Vasana, Kappu means black, Vasana is cloth, Hasana Madida, made it white again, Sri Padarajar Mahima. What I want to actually stress here is, like I said, this is Dasapadas not only teach us Tattva Jnana, but a lot about our history and society as well. Now this Kerene, I learned something really nice with this Kerene concept. I once asked my mother how popular was this Kerene, does everybody know it? My mother said the washermen used to use this to mark the clothes of our family. For example, if it is from my family, they will put a symbol like plus or a minus or something like that, and all the clothes of my family would have the same symbol, so they would never get mixed up with the rest of the clothes. So the management of clothes by washermen, I came to know how they used to do it with this song. I mean, it also describes the great Vijayanagara Empire and Sri Padaraja also, but along with it, we can also learn little things about our society. That is what I wanted to tell. And going to the last classification, Enta Shrimantanantanu. This is a song composed in reaction to a challenge by Sri Prasanna Venkatadasaru. Sri Prasanna Venkatadasaru was actually performing his daily rituals, and the then Peshwa ruler Bajirao too had come to visit the town. He wanted to see Prasanna Venkatadasaru, so he sends a soldier, and Prasanna Venkatadasaru says it in a funny way, saying, if this Peshwa wishes to do so, I will come. And the soldier doesn't understand, but the Peshwa understands this, and he immediately sends his best man to get the Dasaru to the kingdom, because he was very excited to see the Dasaru. And then when the minister comes to meet the Prasanna Venkatadasaru, he comes with a golden pen. He has exceptional memory and writing skills. So he had a little bit ahankara in him, that he could pen down anything he wanted to by just listening to it once. So Dasaru realizes this and then says, if you pen down one of my songs, I will gladly come and meet your Peshwa. He then composed a Mundige. Mundige is a special category of Dasapadagalu, which doesn't have, which you cannot understand it. It sounds like gibberish. It's completely encrypted. You have to know it, or somebody has to explain it to understand the meaning. The additional thing in this song is that he made the Mundagi in such a way that he put a lot of tongue twisters in the song. So nobody can memorize it, at least definitely not by listening it to once. Please listen to the song and then I'll finish it off.
ಎಂಥ ಶ್ರೀಮಂತಾನಂತಾನೋ ಶ್ರೀಕಾಂತೆ ಕಂತ ಎಂಥ ಶ್ರೀಮಂತಾನಂತಾನೋ ಬಮ್ಮನು ಹೆಮ್ಮಗ ಮಮ್ಮ ಮೃಡಮ್ಮರಿ ಮಮ್ಮ ಶಚಿಮ್ಮ ಸ್ವರಮ್ಮ ಪರಮ್ಮ ಅಮ್ಮರು ಸಮೋಹ ನಿಮ್ಮನು ಗಮ್ಮರು ನಮ್ಮೋ ನಮ್ಮ ಪರಮ್ಮ ಮಹಿಮ್ಮ ಎಂಥ ಶ್ರೀಮಂತಾನಂತಾನೋ ಶ್ರೀಕಾಂತೆಯ ಕಾಂತ ಎಂಥ ಶ್ರೀಮಂತಾನಂತಾನೋ ಅಂಗರು ಹಂಗಳ ಅಂಗನಂತಗಡ ಮಂಗಳ ಪಾಂಗ ವಿಶ್ವಂಗಳ ಮಂಗಳ ಶಿಂಗರದಂಗುತ ಸಂಗದ ಜಗದ ಅಧಂಗಳ ಧಂಗಳ ಹಿಂಗಿ ಪಳಂಗ ಪನ್ನಗ ಪನ್ನ ಶಯನ್ನ ಮಹೋನ್ನತ ಪನ್ನಗೆ ಪರವಾಹನ್ನರ ತುನ್ನ ಭವಾನ್ನ ಸುಖೋನ್ನತ ರನ್ನಗರನ್ನಿಜ ನಿನ್ನದುರಿನ್ಯಾರಿನ್ನೊಡೆಯನ್ನೇ ಎಂಥ ಶ್ರೀಮಂತಾನಂತಾನೋ ಶ್ರೀಕಾಂತೆಯ ಕಾಂತ ಎಂಥ ಶ್ರೀಮಂತಾನಂತಾನೋ ವಲ್ಲ ಕೈವಲ್ಯತ್ರ ವಲ್ಲಭ ಸುಲ್ಲಭ ಬಲ್ಲಿದ ಕುಲ್ಲರದೆಲ್ಲಣ ನಲ್ಲದೆ ಉಲ್ಲದು ನಲ್ಲೊಳವಲ್ಲ ನೀನಲ್ಲದೆ ಸಲ್ಲದು ಸೊಲ್ಲ ನೀನಿಲ್ಲದಿನಿಲ್ಲ ವಲ್ಲ ಕೈವಲ್ಯತ್ರ ವಲ್ಲಭ ಸುಲ್ಲಭ ಬಲ್ಲಿದ ಕುಲ್ಲರದೆಲ್ಲಣ ನಲ್ಲದೆ ಉಲ್ಲದು ನಲ್ಲೊಳವಲ್ಲ ನೀನಲ್ಲದೆ ಸಲ್ಲದು ಸೊಲ್ಲ ನೀನಿಲ್ಲದಿನಿಲ್ಲ ಎಂಥ ಶ್ರೀಮಂತಾನಂತಾನೋ ಶ್ರೀಕಾಂತೆಯ ಕಾಂತ ಎಂಥ ಶ್ರೀಮಂತಾನಂತಾನೋ ಅಂಬರ ದುಂಬಿಗೆ ತುಂಬೆ ವಿಶುಂಭ ಸುದುಂಬಿಲಿ ನಿಂಬಿಟ ಕೊಂಬ ಕೃಪಾಂಬುದೆ ಬಿಂಬ ಕದಂಬಕ ಬಿಂಬ ಪ್ರಸನ್ ವೆಂಕಟ ನಂಬಿತ ನಿಮ್ಮಿವನೆಂಬ ಕುಟುಂಬಿ ಎಂಥ ಶ್ರೀಮಂತಾನಂತಾನೋ ಶ್ರೀಕಾಂತೆಯ ಕಾಂತ ಎಂಥ ಶ್ರೀಮಂತಾನಂತಾನೋ.
So after listening to this song, he couldn't write anything. He just apologized to Dasaru, and he realized that he was he had ahankara, and he thanked Dasaru for getting him out. With this, all the categories are finished. I want to conclude by saying that Dasapadagalu is not just about spreading bhakti, or they were definitely not some revolutionaries trying to change the dogmas or the imaginary dogmas that colonial historians try to portray in our culture. It is very clear that they wanted to spread the siddhanta, the gnana, which the people were not interested in. And the formal education was very difficult, and you couldn't do your job or stay in samsara and attain the same level of knowledge. So Dasaru tried to bring all those the sara of those, like Gita Sara, Sudhama Charitra, Mahabharata, Tatparya, and all these things into Dasapadagalu. There's a lot of Vedanta literature written in Dasapadagalu. Unfortunately, there's not much left. Of 475,000 songs written by Purandara Dasaru, there are hardly a couple of thousand left today. And even that is a lot. And in Purandara Dasaru's own words, I want to say and conclude this. While writing Sudhama Charitra, he doesn't say this is Sudhama Charitra. Rather, he says what he wants to audience to listeners to think about. He ends it by saying, "Idu bhagavatavenni, idu bhagavatavenni, idu bhagavatage kiyulugalu. ಇದಕ್ಕೆ ಪ್ರಿಯನು ನಮ್ಮ ಪುರಂದರ ವಿಠಲನು ಇದರಿಂದ ಮುಕ್ತಿ ಕೊಡುವನು ಸತ್ಯ." He doesn't say this is Sudhama Charitra. He says this is Bhagavata, and this is Keelugalu of Bhagavata. Keelugalu means the joints of our body, and one can imagine without the joints we cannot do anything. So by understanding the Dasa Sahitya, we understand that we can connect the knowledge in our brain, in our minds, and remove all our confusions, understand the tattva, and then perform our karma and finally attain the mukti. And the most important element is that we stay in samsara, do our jobs, and yet do this. This is also said by Purandardas in one of the kritis. He says, ಕರೆ ಕರೆ ಸಂಸಾರ ನೀಗುವರಾಗಿ ಪುರಂದರ ವಿಠಲನ ಸೇವಿಪರಾಗಿ ರಾಗಿ ತಂದೀರ. So I hope Dasa Sahitya will help everybody understand the Tattva and also know about our culture. With this, I want to end. कायेन वाचा मनसेन्द्रियैर्वा बुद्ध्यात्मना प्रकृते स्वभावात् करोमि यद्यत् सकलं परस्मै नारायणाय समर्पयामि. धन्यवादः. I want to thank Dr. Nagaraj Paturi sir, Shivkumar ji, and Srinivas sir for their untiring support, and Indica team. I wish that the team will do such Jnana Yajnas for a long, long time. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Yogeendra ji. I think having grown in the environment of Purandaradasa Padas and other Padas, I can tell one thing, that the number of narratives, complex Itihasa Purana narratives that are presented in the Dasapadas in a seamless fashion. In 1 or 2 lines, an entire story is captured, like the Dhruva story. And it is captured in a very intriguing form, like, the 5 Pitrus were there, yet they could not do anything. That should mesmerize somebody, and it created curiosity to go and read that in detail.
Yeah.
That is the kind of story narration techniques that Dasapadas employed, that they shortened it and made it concise, but the expressions were so powerful and full of bhakti rhetoric that it would push an individual go further deep into that.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Yogeendra ji.
Thank you.